Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. Theme is around expanding your business in terms of opportunities in France. So InCorp as a company, we are glad to partner with a fellow PrimeGlobal member from France, Jégard Créatis as a firm, a member firm of PrimeGlobal as well, like InCorp. Essentially for everyone, just to give a very quick overview, the flow of the webinar today. I have four of my colleagues from France in terms of our partner firm who will be presenting the opportunities of France to everyone here today. So we will start off with a presentation which will take about 30 minutes or so in terms of going through the entire spectrum of France as a market or any company outside of France who wants to explore, expand into Europe. And after the presentation, right, we will open up to a Q&A session of which you can essentially key in some of your questions that you may have into the Q&A button of Zoom. Me, who will also act as the moderator today, I will also essentially be picking on the questions and throwing out to the panel, the experts here, for them to answer some of the questions. Very quick, I'll say introduction of InCorp again, since we are the co-host today. InCorp, we are Singapore headquartered professional services corporate solutions provider that provides a wide range of corporate services to all companies in Asia. InCorp, we are also a member of PrimeGlobal, which is a globally renowned association of accounting firms. InCorp is also one of the largest member firm in the South Asia region. So InCorp as a whole, right, present other than Singapore, we're also present in Hong Kong, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, India, Malaysia, as well as Australia, can provide essentially a wide range of corporate services that you can see on the right hand side here. Of course, in today's team, right, the whole purpose is not talking about Singapore or South Asia, we're talking about France today. So maybe what I'll do is I'll pass the mic to Francois and team for self-introduction as well as starting the presentation. Francois?
Yes, thank you very much, Eric, and welcome everybody for this webinar. We are, Eric, based in Paris, in France, in Europe, and we are pleased to explain you today how to invest in France. And to do this webinar, I have with me three of my colleagues. Firstly, Sandrine Rozieres, who is partner of Jégard Créatis. Hello, Sandrine.
Hello, bonjour.
And you have Jeffrey Bolton, who is audit manager.
Hello, nice to meet you.
And Ramata, who is a legal and tax manager in Jégard Créatis.
Hello, everyone.
We are actually 180 people based in Paris and around Paris, and we are a member of PrimeGlobal for a long time now, and pleased to work with many of our partners all over the world, and especially with you, Eric, and thanks to organize this webinar this morning for us and this afternoon for you. Perhaps Sandrine, you want to start the presentation immediately, so I give you the stage.
Okay, thank you. So like François said, we are in Paris, and we have 7 locations in Paris and nearby Paris, 24 partners. And the main thing is ISO qualified and CPAOB registered too. We are organized by functions. Functions means we have accountancy services, means accountancy, so financial statement and tax compliance. We'll do also payroll and HR services and all the declaration processes. And we can offer you legal and contractual audit, such as due diligence, merger and acquisition committee, and consolidated accounts. We have also legal services. We do legal services for company articles on association, and we have quality, environment, and organization services. Means we can help our clients with quality and look at their organization. We can do organizational audit, and the new services you can offer now, it's information system and cyber attack audit. That is a new services we can offer. We have clients by sectors in technology, industry, non-profit association, and real estate, and the trade cooperation. And we can use a network if we don't have the full the full services inside Jégard Créatis. We have lawyers, public and private banks. We work with the tax authorities, customs, and we have also notary, overseas chartered accountants like Eric and François said with PrimeGlobal, and we have also wealth management advisor. That it was for the introduction of Jégard Créatis, and now Jeffrey, I would like to. Could you tell us what it's nice to choose France, and what is the first asset of France? Please.
So thank you for your question. So the first asset of France is its location. France is located in the center of Western Europe. This makes it an ideal gateway to Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. After Brexit, its location makes it one of the main beneficiaries of the transfer of activities related to financial services. In addition to its central geographical location, France has an efficient connection with Europe and the rest of the world. It has the first road network in Europe, big multinational airports, a high-speed rail network, and well-located ports.
And what are the market opportunities?
So France is a world-class economic power. It is the second European economic power. It is the 9th largest exporter in the world. France has one of the largest domestic markets in Europe with over 65 million inhabitants.
Okay, thank you. And in France strengths, is the taxation an obstacle to setting up companies in France?
So that's a very good question. France has a tax system that currently promotes competitiveness and innovation. Research and development, as well as innovation, are two of the government's current priorities.
Okay.
With the implementation of major investment programs at the moment.
And what are France's other advantages for foreigners?
So thanks to its investment in the education system and its support for continuing education, the country has a qualified and productive workforce. What's more, France is the world's #1 tourist destination and is known for its quality healthcare, and cultural offerings. For example, Le Louvre is by far the most visited museum in the world.
Okay. And is France land of the future?
So France currently is very concerned with the preservation of the climate and the environment. Current government reforms have led to a reduction in the tax burden on companies and on households. This is why France is now the European leader for new foreign investment projects. Today, France ranks first in Europe for foreign investment in R&D.
Okay, thank you. And we have many industries in France, and what are the main sectors present in France? Could you tell us, please?
So France is present in numerous sectors. So we will present here a few sectors where France is present. So it is still the leading agricultural power in Europe, with flagship products such as wine, champagne, cheese, for example. France is also very present in manufacturing, for example, in the automobile sector with brands like Renault and Peugeot, as well as in luxury goods. We heard about Chanel, L'Oréal, and also in the aeronautics sector with Airbus, for example. Technology is another very important pillar in France. France is ranked among the most technologically advanced countries in the world. The country has an ideal environment for technological research and innovation. France has several competitiveness clusters. For example, Paris-Saclay region is our French Silicon Valley. The energy sector is one of the main industries in France as well, with a real mastery of nuclear power. France produces more electricity than it consumes. In the current context, with the war in Ukraine, it is a very important fact. The tourist industry is a key economic sector in France. Do you know that France is the most visited country in the world by foreign tourists?
Yes, just after with the COVID, it changed a little bit, sorry. But thanks to the tourists, and we are pleased to see you in France.
Yeah, we want you to come back.
Please. So after we have France, but we are not alone. We have Europe. Can you tell us, please, what's the Europe's leading business regions?
So on the map, you will notice that France has two of the main leading business regions in Europe. There is the Paris region and the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region. So just to give you a few figures, the Paris region generates 31% of the French national wealth. And at the same time, this is about 5% of European Union GDP. Just to make you an idea of those figures in the whole Europe. So the Paris region is by far the largest economy with the highest GDP in Europe, which is equivalent to that of Netherlands and higher to that of Sweden, Poland, Belgium, and even Norway. What's more, the Paris region has Europe's highest concentration of Fortune 500 corporations. So this was my part, and now I'm going to give my voice to another speaker. So Ramata, could you please tell us how to set up a business in France?
Yes, of course, Jeffrey, thank you very much. So now I'm going to present you the different legal rules concerning the development of business in France. So to develop its business, there are actually several possibilities for foreign companies depending on the level of activity you will develop in France. So you can create a liaison office, which is a kind of observation post in France. You can also open a branch office or create a subsidiary. So the liaison office is a very light structure with any commercial activity. Actually, it allows to make contact with various interlocutors, for example, potential clients, administrations, or suppliers. And it also provides the foreign company with local information. And it allows to ensure its communication and publicity in France. So it will have a bridging role in France, for example, to prepare some negotiations between the clients in France and the company abroad. So it's an ideal structure for the foreign company. And you can also open a branch office, which is a very good waiting solution before the creation of the subsidiary, because opening a branch office in France means opening a secondary establishment to facilitate the geographical expansion of the activity in France and the relation with local customers. So the activity of the branch will be identical to the parent company abroad, and it will be managed by a representative of the parent company who will have the power to deal with third parties. So the manager will be independent in France. So he will be responsible for goods. He will carry out the business in France, but it will still under the control of the parent company. And then you can create a subsidiary. A subsidiary means that you can create a permanent establishment in France with its own legal personality. So it's very interesting because the subsidiary will have the French nationality, which can facilitate the introduction of the French markets. And so the subsidiary will adopt one of the legal structures in force in France, which now I will present you very briefly the three main forms that we used to see in France. So we have the simplified joint stock company called the SAS, the private limited company called the SARL, and the civil property company, the SCI. So the first two legal structures concern actually commercial activities, and there are several rules that are common between these two forms. For example, you can create these companies with one or more partners with a minimum share capital of €1, and it's managed by a physical person, but also a company for the simplified joint stock company. So both company, the manager could have a remuneration. What is different between these two forms is that in the simplified joint stock company is more flexible. So you can choose the way you want to organize your activity, the way you want to make decisions. Whereas in the private limited company, there are more specific rules so that you have a more security for the partners. And then we have the civil property company, who is very, very used in France by families, for example, to manage their property between parents and children, but it's also used by companies who want to practice their activities in this property in France. So there are very specific rules concerning the SCI, but what is very important is that even if we're talking about property, there is a protection of personal assets.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ramata. And could you tell us, please, what could be our added value for foreign companies in France?
What is very important is that we're talking about foreign companies, so we're talking about different countries. And the most important thing first is to analyze the convention between France and the country of origin for tax purposes. So we deal with, for example, bilateral tax treaty first. Of course, we have the foreign client in choosing the legal form, and we realize all the formalities to create the structure in France. We also have a domiciliation service so that you can fix your head office near the business district called Paris La Défense. And we also have bank partners so that you can deposit your capital in our bank partners.
Okay.
So now, when you set up a company in France, the next question is about human resources. So Sandrine, could you please explain to our attendees how does it work in France?
Okay, human resources, what should do an employer? First of all, the employer has to be registered in the social security, in our social security, you need a number. And after, the employer has to declare the employees before to hire them. And of course, the employer has to make sure that the employees have the right to work in France. After it's an obligation in France, we have to draw up an employment contract. And the employer has to pay social security contribution also on a monthly or quarterly basis. So this is a bit technical. It's just to show up the main lines for an employer. But we strongly recommend you to advise to consult a chartered accountant or an advisor to help you in this process. So yes, the employment is the next step after set up a company.
Okay, thank you, Sandrine. So now, could you please explain what are the specificities of audits in France?
Yes, in France, auditors in France, but I believe it's like you in Singapore. Roughly, we have a threshold. So the threshold, it's we have to meet two of the three thresholds. So the balance sheet 4 million, the turnover 8 million, and employees 50 million. But you have to know when you set up a company, it's not the auditor is not compulsory. So that I believe at the beginning when you set up a company, it's not your point. But for you, I would like to discuss about this point the quicker as you can, because it means you have very well developed your business in France. And after that, I know that it's a specificity in France. When you have to appoint an auditor by the General Assembly, it's for 6 years. And it's 6 years, and you cannot change the auditor within 6 years. Why we do that? It's for the independent opinion for the auditor. Means the company can't get rid of the auditor if he put a wrong note on the accounts, if I can say. So that you have to know that, but it won't be for the beginning one of your main question.
Okay, thank you, Sandrine. And now, could you please explain the particularities of French tax in France?
Yes, with pleasure. So I show you a very simple taxes draw. First of all, the subsidiary branch or permanent establishment are taxed independently on the yearly basis and the profit made in France. After, the main thing is VAT. VAT, it's I don't know if you have that in Singapore, but Eric tell us. VAT, it's neutral for firms. Firms are collecting the VAT for the tax, so there's no impact for firms. The main rate is 20%, and it's on the activities done in France, all the activities done in France. And after, between transaction in Europe, there's specificities to know, but there's no cash to put that out. And after, we have the corporation tax. So in 2022, the rate is 15%. It's not or and 15% and 25%. So it depends on the level of your profit. So that is for the national taxes. And after, we have local taxes. Local taxes, the main are for the land tax for the property owner, and the calculation is based on the land and the building value. And after, we have the same the tax called CET. It's for the tenant which are rented land and building, and the tax is split in two. One based on the added value, with a rate between 0 and 1.5%, and after we have a contribution in business premises, but that is too technical. I won't bother you about that. This is just to introduce you this kind of taxes. So I think we have just to show you the French presentation that we have to show you what's going on in France. If you want to set up a company or to make business in France, if you have opportunities, we'll be pleased to help you. And if you have questions, we'll be happy to answer you. We'll do our best in this time. Eric, do you know if we have questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine. Perhaps you have question, Eric, who arrived, or you want to ask to our team now?
Sure. Maybe I will ask for the audience, right? If you have any questions that you ask the panel from France, feel free to input into the Q&A section of Zoom. In terms of the questions, and I will pick up the questions for the panel to discuss. But maybe for the Jégard Créatis team, right? I have some questions that I will ask to warm everybody up a little. I think the first question, right? It'll be simple. So, if you are talking to a company of a foreign company, a CEO, for example, and the CEO asks you, right? I'm looking to expand into Europe. But I'm comparing between France and UK or Germany, for example, which are key powerhouses within Europe as well. So what would be the advice that you'll be telling this CEO?
Who's ready to answer?
Firstly, I think we work very closely with all our PrimeGlobal partner in Europe. So whatever is your choice, we can help you. If you set up a business in France, in UK, in Germany. Geoffrey show you some figures about France, about the economy, and we can say today that there is a new dynamic in Europe. It's complicated actually with all the actuality, and we can see every day on the TV, but we have a very dynamic and economic system with many technological pole in different place in France, and I think it's a very nice country to invest. But we will see with our clients what is the best to do, perhaps to have a headquarters somewhere and to have other activity in Europe. It depends on the project of the firm and of your client.
Thank you, Francois. Sorry, Sandrine. Yes.
No, but that's okay. With the UK, there's a Brexit. And the Brexit changed a little bit for companies because the basic thing is customs. And a lot of, it was 20 years ago, a lot of companies wanted to be in UK. And now since the Brexit, a lot of companies came back in France or in Europe. Most of them, I'm not sure about the quantity, but most of them came back in France because it's nearby maybe London. And I have a lot of English clients who wanted to set up a company because to facilitate their activities with the customs. They needed a VAT number, basically, a French VAT number. And after, in Germany, the market, if you want to set up a company in Germany, the market is a mature market. And I have a client, a French client, who is got a company in Canada, in Italy, and he wants to touch the German market, but it's difficult for him. It's not impossible, but it's difficult for him to understand the market. So yes, I don't know if I answered you, but our partners, European partners, have got their strengths, and but we are in the middle of them, basically, and geographically.
And we take time with people when they arrive in France to know and to understand exactly what is their business, what they want to do, what they want to do tomorrow, and we will find solution in France and in Europe with our other partner. So do not hesitate to call us, to come in Paris. We will be pleased to show you this lovely town and this lovely country, and spend time with you to know exactly what is better for you.
Thank you, Francois and team. I think you hit it right on the nail. I mean, depending on the business plans of the company in Europe, for example, I think the different countries will have different advantages, especially for France, where we read a lot because of Brexit, a lot of headquarters that are based in UK has shifted to Paris, for example. Maybe for the second questions for the panel. I mean, since everybody here is a foreigner in France, right? Can you name a few specific examples, I would say, of specific business licenses that need to be applied for during or post incorporation of a company in France before business operations can commence?
Ramata, I think you can.
If you want, there are specific license in France if you want to set up a company, but it's very specific. So, for example, to sell some beverage, alcoholic beverage, for example, to practice an activity in restaurants, there are very specific license, but I don't have in mind a specific name of this license. But when we have the client to develop its business, of course we do check all this, and we check if its activity has specific rules. Mm-hmm.
Generally, you can. There's no license needed. Basically, the rules is there's no license needed. Like said, Ramata, it's alcohol and tobacco, so that's all after it's open. Unless if there is from January, there's no licenses needed.
Thank you. Maybe we can move on to a few questions on tax. I think that's where foreign companies will be keen to understand as well. So earlier on the presentation, I think we have seen the VAT regime as well as the corporate tax regime in terms of France. But I know in terms of any other taxes that the foreign companies will be keen to understand when they set up presence in France. For example, dividend tax, for example, capital gains tax. Can you maybe share with the audience a little bit about this, maybe including transfer pricing as well?
Ramata, I think you are the best one.
Concerning dividends, for example, it depends on the convention, the bilateral convention. So, in principle, in France, for French beneficiary, the tax rate is 30%. But if the beneficiary live in Singapore, for example, if it's a person, a physical person, the tax rate will be 15%, so half. And if the beneficiary is a company in Singapore, it will be only 5%. So it depends, really, it depends on the company, on the convention between France and the foreign company.
So Ramata, you mean this is for dividends tax, correct? So in terms of capital gains tax?
Capital gains, it's another rule because it depends on the time you keep the shares in France. So you have to evaluate and calculate the tax on this. So it depends on that.
I see. And is there a transfer pricing regulation or regime in France that is mandatory for all French companies to prepare TP documentation?
Yeah, there are some conditions. Of course, there is transfer pricing. It's a European rule in France. Yeah, we apply this regime.
Thank you. So maybe on the HR side, I think again for foreign companies going to a country for the first time, right? They will want to understand, the manpower regulations or in terms of the average wage level for French employees, for example. So maybe for a foreign company looking into hire for the first general manager of the French subsidiary that they form in France, right? So what is the average wage level can we see or when we look to hire for mid-level or high-level executive in the country?
After depends on a lot of things on the market and what you are looking for, but the average wages in France, I'm talking about net, so gross less social security for an employee is about 1,700. So means with for an employer cost, the employer we say usually we have 45% of employer cost for social security. So it means a growth of nearby 2,900 euro for a gross per month. So that is the average wages. So after, yes, you can go higher if you are high, for example, a cadre. But you've got employee and after the higher level. So it depends on the market and what you're looking for, and depends on the specificities of what you're looking for.
Sure.
But yes, it's 45% employer costs, definitely.
And how does this compare, say, to the rest of the EU or UK, if I count it towards Europe?
I don't know exactly what's in Germany. I don't know, but I worked in UK, and definitely in UK in terms of employer and employee. Employer cost is it's cheaper basically, but you have less cover and social security cover. So it means the employee need to cover himself for the health and the retirement. So okay, it's a cost in France, social security cost, but we have a cover. Yes, and after in German, I don't know about. I'm sorry for that.
Yes, but what we can say more than this figure, we don't have the comparison of the older figure of the European country, but we can say that way of life in France is very attractive. We are in the middle of the Europe. We have a very high-speed train network. We have, of course, plane and all, and it's very easy to move in Europe from France. We have in France different regions with different economic area. For example, for the south of France, with all the aeronautic industry, with Airbus. Jeffrey was speaking about Saclay, with it's a very important district around Paris with a lot of technological company. And if we speak about Lyon in the middle of France, who is a very dynamic country, so it's a dynamic region. So you know, when you are in France, it's easy to find partners with who you can work and can build a project and business. So for this reason, it's attractive and it's pleasant to live here. So when you have people who come from abroad, generally they appreciate to live not only in Paris but in France. Mm-hmm. So I hope we can convince you to have a look on this country, of this part of the world, and we will be always here with Eric as a partner, local partner in Singapore, to study your project and to see what you are able to set up in France.
I've been to France before. I missed the country because of COVID. I don't think I can travel there anytime soon, but hopefully soon.
You have to come back. You have to come back.
Yes. So hope for your potential clients or people from the audience here today, they can travel to France and discuss and understand the country a bit more in terms of a place of doing business. Maybe the last question to end off the webinar, guys, or to set up a French subsidiary, for example, for a Singapore company, how long would it take in terms of time frame?
Since the first meet with the foreign client, it will, I think, realize all the formalities under 3 weeks, a month, but 3 weeks, only 3 weeks, yeah.
And we work closely with bank, because the question is often how long is to open the bank account, local bank account.
Yes.
And we are working with some network, bank network to accelerate this time to open the bank account. But to create a firm, it's very quick.
Thank you, team, and thanks for everyone for coming in today. After this event, we will actually send a recording of the webinar to everyone who joined it, as well as people who may have missed the webinar. And we've also input in the contact points of our partners from France herein, so that if you have any questions about France, you're looking to expand your business into France, feel free to approach the team from Jégard Créatis directly. So thanks again, everybody. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a nice
Bye.